Y'all know the name.
What's going on, guys? My name is Martinho and welcome back to Football Manager 2017 and the final episode of the season. So, in a previous episode, which if you haven't seen, I highly suggest you go and watch. There's a little link in the top right hand corner, should be right about now. So you should go and watch that because following this, there will be some spoilers. Okay, so, previous episode. We got promoted. We started off with a disappointing 0-0 draw at home to Wolves. Then we beat Burton by 3-0 before coming up with a massive win over Norwich. It was 0-0 at half-time. 2 quick-fire goals from Chris Wood. Yeldon scored a bizarre one, which I've got to blame fully on Michael Silvestri. I don't know how it got past him. But we held out, we got the win, and we are now promoted. So what it basically means, looking at the table for this final game, is we can't catch Newcastle, no way, shape or form, and we're not going to fall into the playoff places. In the league, there are a couple of things still to play for, though. Fulham can, with a miracle, if they can somehow elicit a 14-goal swing. So if Derby can lose 7-0 and Fulham can win 7-0 and Cardiff draw, then Fulham will go into the playoffs. But it's not looking likely. It's looking more like it's going to be Derby or Cardiff. And looking at the matches, Derby County are away to Rotherham, who are already relegated. And then we've also got, where are they? Cardiff are away to Huddersfield. So that's a bit of a tougher game. So it's looking like perhaps Derby, but you never know. Rotherham may want to go out with a bang. But on to our game. So we've got Wigan as our final game, and we're away from home, so we're heading to the DW Stadium, I think it's what it's called now. And I've made some changes, bearing in mind it's the last game of the season and there's nothing else really to play for. So Bailey Peacock-Farrell will come in and make his first start for the club. In addition to that, I'm bringing Calvin Phillips in, and I've also brought in Solomon Dakara. He's basically sitting, riding the pine very well. He's not really been complaining. So I'm going to give him a go as a defensive forward. Also, I've changed Janssen to being a ball-playing defender because I think he could play well there. I've got him training in that. And I'm playing Peacock-Farrell as a sweeper keeper just to give that a go. Woods on the bench, as is Labiad, Moat, Bridcourt, Cooper, Spence, Silvestri. But that's basically the team there. And I'm not going to run through the entire game. I don't see the point of doing it because it's a nothing fixture and there are other things I want to get done. So I'm just going to show you a selection of highlights instead, the major highlights from the game rather than all of them. And the first one is this. We started the half pretty well, and Kemar Roof, as you can see here, had a very good chance. Perhaps should have gone across the goalkeeper instead of towards the near post, but whatever. Then a little bit later on, we had Sacco, cross come shot, hitting the post, and Wigan scramble it clear. But in the second half, Wigan came out and they were a lot better than us. They started to turn the wick up a little bit, and eventually the pressure told. Nick Powell with a powerful effort, pretty much straight down Bailey Peacock-Farrell's throat, to be honest, and I'm a little bit disappointed he didn't do better there. But again, it's a real a nothing fixture. Following the goal, though, Wigan again had the better of the chances and they continued in the same form. They almost got a second through Grigg there, hit the crossbar. Peacock-Farrell might have got a fingertip to it. But in the end, Nick Powell's goal was enough to basically see them through to a win. And that was the end of our season. A little bit disappointed we lost, but, we didn't play too badly. Pontus Jansson got man of the match. Bailey Peacock-Farrell got an okay rating despite conceding that goal that went pretty much straight at him. But yeah, a little bit disappointed, but as I said, the greater goal was to get promoted, and we did that in the previous episode, so this was just nothing fixed. I just sat back and just let whatever happened, basically. It was quite an even game overall. We perhaps had maybe a little bit better of it. But the other things to look at was, as I mentioned, Cardiff lost to Huddersfield, and Derby beat Rotherham, and that means that Derby go into the playoffs, Cardiff don't. So there are the playoffs. Norwich will play Sheffield Wednesday, Derby play QPR. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump ahead about a month when all of the other stuff is done, the playoffs, the Champions League, the FA Cup and so on, and I'm going to basically run through any team news for ourselves, run through who won what where, and then I'm also going to do my own little award ceremony and with that will be the end of the season. So I will be back in a moment. Okay guys, so the season is over, all the awards have been won, all the trophies have been handed out, and the players are now off on their jollies in places like, Benidorm and Swindon, which I hear is lovely this time of year. But there is news to report on the home front as I am still here working. The first bit of news is that Kemar Roofe, Alex Moat, Marco Silvestri and Ronaldo Vieira have all signed new contracts. Silvestri was the only one that was sort of getting towards the end of it. I think he only had about a year to run on his contract, so I wanted to get him signed up. And the others, on the face of it, I believe deserve new deals as well, even though they did come asking for him as well, but whatever. They have all signed new contracts. On the transfer front, I have made 2 signings. One is Pontus Jansson, and the other is Kyle Bartley. I don't think I was going to get better for the money, so I've decided to activate the clauses in those loan deals to get them in on a permanent basis. One player that won't be with us next season is Rob Green. He has opted to retire, so he came up with an injury, lost his place to Marco Silvestri and never really got it back. So he was probably going to go at the end of the season anyway regardless, but now he's opted to retire, and that's one less headache for me to worry about. For the Leeds end of season awards, Marco Silvestri surprisingly picked up the award for player of the season. Not personally who I would have given it to. Liam Bridcock got goal of the season for his strike against Ipswich. Diego Poit was named the signing of the season, and young player went to Xavi. But on the subject of Xavi, he has also signed a new contract, and he had an absolutely stellar season. Free kicks, it was an absolute master. Came up with assists as well, and because of that, he was actually named in the Sky Bet Championship Team of the Season. And I'm not surprised, because it was always going to be a difficult job for me to replace Charlie Taylor after he departed, but there wasn't a point that I can remember throughout the season where I was thinking, oh, I wish I had Charlie Taylor back. He's come in and he's done that well, and he has been rewarded, rightfully so, as being named in the Championship Team of the Season. For myself also, I picked up an award, which was the Manager of the Season award. I was expecting it to go to Rafa Benitez, considering that Newcastle pretty much walked the league, but considering that they were expected to go and win it well, and we were expected to finish mid-table, I can pretty much understand why I have picked it up and won it. So there you go, Matinho, YouTube's perfect idiot, Sky Bet Championship Manager of the Season. Moving on to the other things in the Championship though, the other awards and trophies that I won. We're going to start with the playoffs. And it came down to Norwich and Norwich and QPR. And it was QPR who got the win by 2-0. Stephen Naismith managed to get himself sent off inside of 10 minutes. Connor Washington picked up goals either side of the half. And as you can see from the stats, I think after the sending off, it was pretty much just a foregone conclusion, really. And surprisingly, Connor Washington, he's actually on the transfer list, and it has been since January, I think it was, and they couldn't shift him. And he's still on the transfer list now, despite firing QPR back to the Premier League, so I suppose that's gratitude for you. But now we're going to move on to what happened in the Premier League. And there were a couple of surprises here, and not all of them will be shown right with this league table. Some of them you might be able to allude to. But Arsenal won the Premier League, adding to the League Cup they picked up in February when they beat Manchester City by 5-1. They've also added the Premier League title by 5 points. They pipped Manchester City, with Manchester United and Chelsea rounding out the top 4. Spurs, Liverpool, West Ham and Watford round out the European placings there. But the big surprise for me for this season wasn't necessarily Arsenal winning it, it was Southampton getting relegated. So they'll join Middlesbrough and Sunderland in the Championship next season. And this was a big surprise for me, purely because they have so many good players. And I kind of kept a tab on it for the last 3-4 games of the season as to what was going to happen, because I have got my eyes on quite a few Southampton players. As you can see here, there's about 10 on my shortlist, 10 or 11 players on my shortlist. So hopefully I can get 1 or 2 of them in. It might be difficult because they are valued quite highly money-wise, and I don't think I've got enough money to spend to try and bring 1 or 2 in. But I'm going to try, I'm going to see what happens, see if a deal can't be done, and see if we can't get some of these players in for our maiden voyage into the Premier League next season. But moving on to the other domestic trophy, which was the FA Cup, and Arsenal completed a domestic treble. They beat Chelsea by 1-0. Mesut Ozil's goal, the only goal of the game at Wembley. And on the basis of it, looking at the possession and the shots on target, Arsenal absolutely dominated it. Perhaps should have won by more, but domestic treble, Arsenal go, 12 years, won a couple of FA Cups, and now they've won 3 trophies in a single season. So there you go, Arsenal domestic treble. Moving on to the Europa League though, affairs in Europe, and we had an all-English Europa League final as Manchester United beat Southampton, recently relegated Southampton, 3-2 on penalties. They went down early in the second half to an own goal, and then Charlie Austin picked up an equaliser with about 7 minutes to go. It went through extra time and penalties, but Manchester United prevailed. But as surprising as this was, not as surprising as the Champions League final, where Roma faced Tottenham at the Millennium Stadium, and it was Spurs who came out on top 4-3 on penalties. Looking at the possession and the overall match stats, you could probably say that Tottenham deserved to win it on the whole, and probably deserved to win it maybe in normal time, but they got it done in the end. And I'm just really surprised. I did not see this final coming. No Real Madrid, no Bayern Munich, no Barcelona, none of them. Spurs versus Roma, and Spurs win it. So Tottenham Hotspur, champions of Europe 2016-2017. But moving on to the other leagues. And we're going to start with La Liga, where Real Madrid pick up the title there ahead of Atletico Madrid. Barcelona did have a very good season. They languishing down in third, but that's that there. Bundesliga, no real surprises there. Bayern Munich won it by quite a distance, 14 points I think that is, if I can see it correctly, ahead of Borussia Dortmund. So no real surprises in that league there. No real surprises in Ligue 1 either, as Paris Saint-Germain pick up another league title ahead of Monaco. The surprise though in this was FC Lorient and Saint-Etienne rounding out the top 4, so they'll play in Europe next season. Serie A, another surprise, and this was the closest one of the lot. Only 8 points separated 5th from 1st, and Inter Milan were the ones who won it by 2 points ahead of AC Milan, with Fiorentina and Roma also in there as well. Moving on to the Eredivisie, PSV pick up another title for them ahead of Feyenoord and Ajax. They won it by 8 points, PSV, and it was only going to be one of those 3. I think there was nobody else who was going to win it, but PSV came out and won it at a canter by the end of it. But that's what's been happening around the world. But now we're going to move back close to home, and these are my personal awards. We've seen the Leeds United end of season awards that the game has allocated, but I'm now going to allocate some awards myself. And we're going to start off with the worst player of the season. Coming in at number 3, Zachary Labiad. Came in on a free transfer, a lot of promise, £10,500 a week, but hasn't in any way, shape or form justified that amount of money per week. Not a very good season from him. He comes in 3rd. Coming in 2nd, Luke Ayling. Stats wise, he should have done better, I think. But he just couldn't really get into it, and he made so many defensive errors. He just really angered me. So he comes in 2nd for that. But number 1 goes to Kwesi Appiah. Came in for £500,000. Didn't really do anything. Didn't really settle. Didn't score a goal. Only 3 assists. And yeah, basically a pointless signing, which I wish I hadn't have made now. The next award that I'm going to be handing out, however, is for the worst signing of the season. And again, we have 3 nominees. And some of these nominees we've just seen, basically. So we're going to start off with number 3, again, Zachary Labiad. Came in on a free transfer, didn't justify the money I'm paying him, didn't really provide anything beyond a goal and 3 assists, and completely and utterly pointless signing. He's definitely going in the summer. Coming in at number 2, we've got Kwesi Appiah. Again, I've just mentioned his shortcomings. Didn't score, didn't really provide much, missed some good chances, and overall a shite signing. And then finally we've got Tai Taiwo, who came in looking to cover and probably challenge Xavi, but stunk the place up, got himself sent off for stupid bookings in a game against Brentford, and that was the end of that. So fully justified that he is the worst signing of the season, in my opinion. But if you have other opinions, you can put a comment down below. The next award that I'm going to be giving out, though, we're moving on to a more positive front, and it's going to be the Young Player of the Season award. And we had 3 nominees, and coming in at number 3 was Ronaldo Vieira. He's come on leaps and bounds since he started playing in the first team. Hasn't really been found wanting while not exactly lighting up the plays. Only 1 assist, but in the roles he was playing, I don't think it was especially expected to go and provide much going forward, but he's only going to get better. He's only 18 and he's had a pretty good season, so he comes in 3rd. Coming in at number 2, though, Alex Moat. Brilliant season from him, absolutely superb. Absolute wizard when it comes to goals from distance. Scored some absolute belters throughout the season. Provided assists. I would have liked to have seen more assists, if I'm being perfectly honest, but overall, absolutely fantastic. Wasn't found wanting. Was the creative spark in the middle of the park that I think we needed, and he comes in at number 2 for the Young Player of the Year award. But number 1 is Xavi, and I can't really look past him. As I've said, he was absolutely amazing throughout the season. Superb defensively. Had a couple of lapses here and there, but overall brilliant defensively. Came up with big goals as well in big games from free kicks, and also provided assists as well. Absolute wizard on the left, and absolutely brilliant season from him, in my personal opinion. The next award I'm going to be giving out, though, is for the overall best player of the season, and there were a few candidates, and I decided instead of doing 3 candidates I was going to do 5 candidates for this one, because there were a few players who did have a very good season that wouldn't fall into the other awards there, like the Young Player of the Year award. But we're going to start off with the first nominee, which is Pontus Jansson. Came in on loan, struggled to get going initially, but when he did, he was very, very good. Very solid central defender, which is why I've signed him permanently. Coming in at number 4 is Hadi Sacco. Came in on loan and he did well. He got 15 assists. Went missing at times during the season, though, which is why he's not scoring higher. The next one is Xavi, who we've already mentioned. Had a very, very good season for himself at left back. Number 2, second nominee, was Kemar Roof, who, again, had a very good season out at the left wing. Had a very, very good season when he was moved up top with Chris Wood. Provided goals, provided a few assists as well, and overall had a very, very good season. The next and final nominee is Chris Wood. Again, he struggled to get going a little bit like Pontus Jansson. I think he picked up an injury early in the season, which kind of, halted his progress. But I don't think he was really suited to playing that lone striker role. And because of that, I think he struggled initially. But when I put him up top with someone, he really started to thrive with Kemar Roof alongside him. And then he bagged a lot of goals, which definitely propelled us towards the Premier League. And yeah, I'm very, very happy. So I know to play him up top with a partner because he's not very good as a lone striker. But the winner of the award is going to be Xavi again. I just can't look past him. I just can't look past him at all because he is, solid defensively, and it was always going to be difficult, as I said, to kind of bring someone in and to replace Charlie Taylor, who departed. But I somehow managed to do it for a guy at a snip of the price, really, of what I would have normally had to pay, I believe. So, Xavi, player of the season, thoroughly deserved. Absolutely amazing season from him, and hopefully that will continue as we move into the Premier League next season. So we're almost finished for this episode and the season. There is one more award to hand out, and that is for the best goal of the season. And there are 10 candidates. Now, the first 7 are in no particular order. They are just going to be the best goals I think we've scored throughout the season. But the final 3 will be the top 3 goals of the season. So I'm just going to let you sit back and enjoy it. And I will catch up with you at the end of this little segment. So there you have it, guys. That is the goal of the season. Alex Mowatt against Aston Villa wins the award. Honestly, it was very difficult to narrow it down to those 10 goals. Not only the top 3, but the 10 goals. And there were a few very good ones that didn't make it in. But I took a little bit of time to think about it. I watched the goals over and over again. And I think Alex Mowatt, I think that was the best goal of the season, in my opinion. Because he had to pick the ball up. He had a defender shadowing him. And he just pings it top corner as confident as you like. So I can't look beyond that. And that is the goal of the season. And that is also the end of the season. So thank you everybody so much for watching. I want to thank everybody who's watched this series and thrown likes on my videos for this series and supported me. It's meant a lot. It has been fantastic. I'm loving playing this game. I really am. Apologies that it's taken so long to complete the first season. I am going to be addressing this next season with a new format for how I do episodes. Hopefully they're going to be a little bit shorter and we're going to be progressing through the season a lot quicker than we have this one. But as I said, that is the end of the episode and the end of the season. So thank you everybody so much for watching. If you did enjoy today's episode and any other episode from this series, then please go ahead, hit that like button for me. You're not going to break it, or hit the like or the dislike button. It doesn't really matter, they're the same thing. You can go and hit one of those for me. That would be amazing. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And if you're new to the series, you can find a link in the description to the playlist. That will take you to the very beginning of the playlist and you can watch it from start to finish. But yeah, again, thank you for watching. Hit like, hit subscribe, stay cool. And as always, I will catch you on the flip side, where next season we're going to be playing Premier League football. Peace!